Something is brewing in Toronto right now, and if the latest reports are accurate, the Blue Jays are about to make moves that will shake up the entire American League. We're not talking about minor tweaks or budget additions. We're talking about aggressive, championship level decisions that signal this organization understands exactly what moment they're in. The window is open right now, and everything coming out of the front office suggests they're going to attack this offseason with the kind of urgency the championship teams show. Keegan Matheson just dropped a report that should have every Blue Jays fan paying close attention. He's confirming what many of us suspected, but weren't entirely sure the front office would commit to. Toronto is targeting long-term options at the top end of the starting pitching market, not just stopgaps or bargain bin arms hoping to rebuild value. This is crucial information because it reveals the organizational philosophy heading into free agency. They're not looking for band-aids. They're looking for difference makers who can anchor this rotation. Practical terms. Shane Bieber just opted into his deal for next season, which gives Toronto a fantastic rotation piece on a very reasonable contract. That's incredible value, especially when you consider what Bieber looked like before his injury. But here's the thing that matters most. Both Kevin Gausman and Shane Bieber become free agents after that's 1 year away. If the Blue Jays don't add controlled starting pitching now, they're looking at potentially losing 2 rotation anchors in the same offseason. That's not a position any contending team wants to be in, and clearly the front office recognizes this reality. So who are we talking about when we say top end of the market? One name that keeps appearing in connection with Toronto is Framber Valdez. Now I know what some people are thinking. He's 32 years old. Is that really the kind of long-term investment Toronto should be making? But let's look at what Valdez actually brings to the table beyond just his age. Over the last 4 seasons, he ranks second in all of Major League Baseball in innings pitched. Second. That kind of durability and consistency is incredibly valuable, especially for a team that just went deep into the postseason and understands how much innings matter. Valdez isn't your typical power pitcher who relies solely on velocity and might age poorly as he hits his mid-30s. He works in the mid-90s with his fastball, but generates outs through command that produces tons of ground balls. That profile typically ages better than guys throwing absolute gas with mediocre command. His ERA last season was 3.66, and while he had some rough stretches late in the year, his track record shows a pitcher who knows how to navigate lineups and eat innings. For a team that needs stability and length from their rotation, Valdez checks every box. Imagine a Blue Jays rotation featuring Kevin Gausman, Alek Manoah, returning to form, Jose Berrios, Shane Bieber, and Framber Valdez. That's not just competitive. That's elite. That's a rotation that can go toe-to-toe with anyone in baseball, including the Dodgers super team everyone loves talking about. You got veteran presence, playoff experience, different arm angles, different pitch mixes. That's exactly the kind of depth that carries you through a long season and gives you options when October arrives. But Valdez isn't the only name being connected to Toronto. Dylan Cease is another high-end starter who could make sense depending on how the market developed. Cease had a rough year last season with an ERA over 4.5, but his underlying numbers tell a much different story. His expected ERA was 3.46, his FIP was 3.56. Those metrics suggest he was significantly better than his surface stats indicate, which often means positive regression is coming. For a team with strong pitching development and analytics infrastructure like Toronto, that's exactly the kind of profile you target. Cease brings something different than Valdez. He's only 30 years old, so he's younger and potentially fits a longer competitive window. He throws serious heat, regularly touching the upper 90s with his fastball and mixing in a slider that can be absolutely devastating when he commands it. The command is the question mark with Cease, but if Toronto believes they can help him take that next step with their pitching infirmament, the upside is enormous, and the price might be more reasonable than people expect given his recent struggles. What makes all of this even more interesting is understanding the financial situation Toronto is operating with. This isn't a small market team worried about luxury tax, penalties, or counting every dollar. Rogers Communications owns this team. They have the resources to be The question has never been whether Toronto can afford to spend. The question has always been whether they will spend. And right now, every signal suggests they're ready to open the checkbook in a major way. Ars Atkins is supposed to speak this afternoon, and that's going to give us even more insight into how the front office is approaching this offseason. What does he say about Bo Bichette's future? How aggressive are they willing to be in pursuing premium free agents? What's the honest assessment of where this roster stands after coming so close to winning it all? Those answers matter, because they'll tell us whether the front office truly understands the urgency of this moment, or if they're going to play it safe and hope incremental improvements are enough. The reality is that this Blue Jays core is at its peak right now. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is in his prime. Bo Bichette, when healthy, is one of the best shortstops in baseball. George Springer still has productive years left. The supporting cast showed they can contribute in big moments. This isn't a team that needs to rebuild or retool. This is a team that needs to add a couple more high-impact pieces and make another run at a championship. Windows like this don't stay open forever, and organizations that fail to capitalize when they have the chance almost always regret it. One thing that keeps coming up in conversations about Toronto is the culture and environment they've built. Opposing players consistently rank Toronto as one of their favorite cities to play in. Shane Bieber's wife posting on social media about how much they love. Toronto isn't just cute content. That's real. That matters when you are trying to recruit free agents. Players talk to each other. They share information about organizations, about cities, about what it's like to play for different teams. Toronto has built genuine goodwill throughout the league, and that's an asset that can't be quantified on a spreadsheet, but absolutely impacts free agent decisions. Think about the narrative shift that's happened over the last year. Before last season, the Blue Jays were viewed as a talented team that couldn't quite get over the hump. There were questions about the coaching staff, about the front office's willingness to spend, about whether this core could actually win when it mattered. Then they went out and made the World Series. They proved they can compete at the highest level. They showed players throughout baseball that Toronto is a legitimate destination. That credibility is worth its weight in gold during free agency. Now let's talk about what adding someone like Framber Valdez or Dylan Cease would actually mean for this rotation's identity. You'd have multiple veteran arms who've pitched in big games and know how to handle pressure. You'd have different looks to throw at opposing lineups throughout a series. Most importantly, you'd have depth. Injuries happen. Slumps happen. Having 5 legitimate starting pitchers instead of 3 good ones, and hoping the back end holds up makes an enormous difference over 162 games. The bullpen is another area where Toronto needs to improve, and the reports suggest they're active in that market as well. But